SoundInteractive is the patch that I've created for my A2 creative work. Basically the concept behind it was that I wanted to create a bit of a middle ground between live performance and electronic music production and composition. So it's designed for people like myself, say, who have a background in live performance and who are just getting started with experimenting and getting used to producing music in programs like Ableton and that kind of thing. Or alternatively the opposite, where there might be people who've got a lot of experience with using those digital production programs and then want to be able to bring that more to a live performance stage. So this patch allows you to have that live performance element of an already made, already composed, digitally produced soundtrack. So this SoundInteractive project works by tracking a color or object that you select, and then depending on where you move that in the frame of the camera will determine what effects are created. So there's 4 different audio effects that are manipulated by where you move the object. There's low pass filter, reverb, degrade, which decreases the sample rate and bit depth and that kind of thing, and delay. So the object that I'll be using in this demonstration is a simple highlighter. I wanted it to be something that could be really easily accessible, so that if this were hypothetically to be put out there for other people to use, it wasn't going to be too difficult to get your hands on. But similarly, like LED lights or any other kind of different colours, depending on how you configured it in the patch, could also work. So to go along with the patch and the programming and everything, I also created an app layout in the Touch OSC app, so that while you're moving the colour or the object, in this case the pink highlighter, you also have control over what that pink highlighter is doing. So on the app there's buttons to start and stop the performance, so they will trigger audio to start playing. There's also a volume fader, so you can control the master volume of your performance. And then there's buttons for each of the 4 effects. And so what this does is, while you're moving the highlighter in this case, or whatever object that you'd be using, you can select which effects that they're manipulating. So you might want the low pass filter just to be on, or you might want the low pass and the delay, or you know, however you wish. And then it will make those effects happen depending on your location on the screen. So this is my SoundInteractive Max Patch project. So we have the initial instructions with the manual, and then information about what each of the buttons do. So although I'll be using the phone app as sort of like the ideal method to have it in your hands while you're doing the performance and tracking the object, there is also this option here of the embedded user interface, the same layout that appears on the phone, so that if you don't have the phone app, you can still just use the buttons that I've overlaid here to do the same things that the app buttons are doing. So then what I'll be doing is I'll be starting here to select a point in my webcam when I've turned the webcam on, and that will get tracked into the little matrix. And then over here would be if you wanted to input your own audio track, you could put that in there in the edit mode, and then these are just the different effects that you'll see moving as I'm tracking, because it's all automated. So to get started, I double check that I've got the IP address and the ports and everything that are connecting my phone to the computer all set up, which I've got. So then I go into the phone interface layout that I created, and this comes up. So then the next step is to select which color or object on the webcam, the built-in webcam, that you want to track. So yeah, for this patch I'm using just my Mac webcam built in, and I'll also be using a composition of mine that I did in Ableton a little while ago as the example track. So the first step was to check that all the port and IP address settings were all correct between the phone and the patch, which they are, so they're connecting and that's all good. The buttons are working, all fine, so all ready to go. So the next step is then to turn on the camera. You can do it with the space bar, and then click to select the colour that you'd like to track. So I've done that by clicking on the object, and so as you can see, it's now tracking where on the screen I'm moving the pink highlighter. And with that, all of these are moving as well. So if you come over here. So the higher I go, the higher the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter will be, and then the lower it, so it'll have that nice low pass filter kind of sound. Degrade is mapped horizontally, so the further to the left on the screen, which is my right, the more degraded it becomes. Reverb is also increased as you go higher, and then delay is also horizontal towards the left to get more of a delay effect. So then now that it's tracking, the next thing then is to start performance, and so I'm going to do that by pressing the start performance button, and then when I want to bring in the different effects, I'll do that by clicking their toggles on my phone app.
Okay.
And when we're done, we can just press